Hi everybody, in this video we want to share some beautiful words, some information about these words. Judging, judgment, observation and acceptation.
Yeah. All of us, at some time or other in our lives, certainly do judge. And it's not to be putting blame on, or it's not to be judging the fact that we do it. All we want to do today with this particular video is to point out how we are living our lives, many of us, and how we can perhaps make some very positive changes to the way we live our lives. For instance, let's just take that one word for a moment, judging. Can you think of a moment in your own life where you've actually judged somebody?
Or yourself.
Or even yourself, which is also extremely important because, again, all we want to do is sow some seeds that you start to think about, for instance, how you're judging someone else or yourself. And how we continually do that just from our programming, our automatic pilot, if you will. But the whole purpose of all of these videos is of being consciously aware
of what you're doing
and how you're living, and how, if you will, you can better your life and be much more in a joyful state, a much more peaceful state. So, a couple of examples. Well, let's say judging.
Yes.
Okay. Just imagine that you're looking at somebody and all of these thoughts start to fill your mind. And certainly if they go into the negative side of thinking, let's say that somebody's broken their nose at some time and they've got a squished nose, and you think sort of, oh my goodness, that's ugly, or whatever. But here we are again, this is our programming, and automatically we've gone into the thought process of that's damaged, it's not perfect, and it's ugly. But we don't know how that person got that, do we?
No, it's not important.
But it's not important either. Well, no, definitely not. Something's happened in that person's life, which might have been a traumatic event as well. And all of a sudden we've judged them for it.
Yes, and the other person you judge can feel the energy of your thoughts.
They can also feel that. That's definitely something for a future video to talk about that. But for now today, we'll just stay to those words, stick to these words, judging, judgment. For instance, let's use a comical little example here. There's been a time in our own journeys when, for instance, you go into a restaurant, and you're having a really good meal. And just in another video, just a moment or two ago, I just had a cup of coffee. And sometimes I get wind from coffee, and I need to burp. But right in the middle of the video, it was building up, and I didn't. I held it in. So I was again judging myself because of the programming that I've received through my own life, whereas I really should have just, well, you probably wouldn't have liked it, but maybe I should have just let it go.
Yes.
And you think about that. Look at our own Western culture. If you look at that and you go into a restaurant and all of a sudden after a good meal, you let a great big hefty healthy burp. Look at the amount of people around the restaurant are going to be looking at you and totally disgusted with you. Well, guess what, folks? Yeah, that is our culture. That's us judging because we've been programmed in that particular way.
Yes.
It's a judgment from our own programming. But let's take another part of the world. Pretty sure the people who've been to, for instance, China, if you go into a restaurant there and you've had a really good meal and you do let one rip, they're really pleased because they're absolutely totally delighted that you've absolutely enjoyed their meal and their cooking, and they're very appreciative of it. Two totally different cultures, two totally different perspectives. Now, they judge it, if you will, in a negative way, but they judge it, if you will, in a very positive way. But we want to move on to this, if you will, if judging, judgment, judging, judgment, to change that, if you will, into a different way.
Observation.
And that's a beautiful word, Mario, because observation, basically, if you're able to observe without the previous words, you will open yourself up to being simply able to observe without any thoughts, without any programming. And if you're able to do it, we promise you, you'll be able to observe with totally different eyes, with totally different energy. Because if you leave those first three out of it, you're looking in a different way.
And the result is?
And well, you tell me.
Acceptation.
Ah, of course. And this is an extremely important word. Observation and acceptation. Observing, accepting.
Yes.
Put those two words together and start to think about them, because if you're able to observe and able immediately to accept, even if they are what we might perceive to be imperfections, it might be a great big ugly zit on their face or whatever.
Yes.
But if you're able to observe in total acceptance, you're not going to see those blemishes anymore.
You don't feel the emotions.
You don't feel the emotions, you don't get into the ego perceptions, you don't get into the old programming. You're, if you will, coming from the heart and indeed being in total acceptance. And accepting this beautiful being, this beautiful creation of God right there in front of you, because we all are creations of God, whether we like it or admit it or not, we are. And if you can accept through observation, without no judgment, then you do totally change your way of looking, your way of thinking, your way of feeling.
And being.
And I was going to say living.
Yes.
But you add to that one being, sweetie, and then we've finished it completely and totally perfectly. This one simple little video.
Yes.
It will change your life. And you will start to see the world through a much prettier, more beautiful, more joyful, more pleasurable, more loving.
In her perfection.
Life will be just much better.
Yes.
And there'll be some of you watching this, you might be saying, well, they're looking through rose-colored goggles or glasses or whatever. Well, so be it. Because if you did, you just judge me. Think about that one.
I wear pink glasses.
Yes?
Yes.
All right. Well, jokingly finishing the video off in this way. All we're doing, folks, I mean, we're not in judgment here. We're simply reaching out and sowing seeds as we always do. And there's nothing that we can do about the seeds, the words that we share with you, the thoughts that we share with you. There's nothing that we can do about it. It's not up to us. It's up to you how you receive them and what you do with them. What we want to do is to indeed share a joy, a passion, a love, a light, something beautiful. We can't make it happen. It's up to you.
Yes.
Thank you for listening to our words about judging, judgment, observation and acceptance. Some beautiful words and some beautiful thoughts to play with. Enjoy. Thank you for listening.
Namaste.
Namaste.